Why are so many creators and players quitting Valorant? Is it the end of Valorant? Is burnout hitting so hard that the game will now be on a decline? Well, it's an interesting topic and kind of a complicated one. Now, to be clear, I'm going to be going over smurfing, content burnout, what the game needs or doesn't need, and the overarching goal for Riot Games. Credit where credit is due, this entire main conversation is sparked from Eggwick's initial video in which he's going to be taking a step back from Valorant content and will begin to pursue variety. On top of that, I love how it sparked other conversations within the net community. I've seen talks about smurfing, rewards, and other issues, and if anyone here has been watching my channel, you know it's everything I talk about when it comes to customs, to map making, to everything. So I'm definitely interested, and it took me a little while to get everything collected, but here are my thoughts on the state of Valorant. First and foremost, I need to make something clear. We all need to be on a single page, which is Valorant is in an extremely healthy position when it comes to search volume and interest over time. If we are to take the worldwide past 5 years, so since the beginning of the game's launch, the most obvious highest peak interest is at launch, followed by a deep decline, but then steady growth since the beginning. Valorant continues to grow year over year as the game has been doing one thing right, focusing on what they believe matters most, which is competition, the competitive experience, and pro play. Valorant is esports first, and the Riot is proving this by putting countless amount of hours and resources into the competitive side of Valorant. So much so that we got Premier before we got a basic replay system or other different features that could cater towards the casual scene. They went full send when it comes to competitive gameplay specifically. When it comes to the latest VCT, it sparked so much interest to even me, someone who's never even looked at pro play seriously because I just didn't care enough, tuning in. It was hype, it had stories, it had a plot, it had all these amazing different players, and it's just what Riot is doing right. So with all that, where's the burnout coming from? Where's this dreaded feeling that's sparking throughout the community? Well, it's because nothing's perfect and there are some serious issues with Valorant. Time to separate and dissect. Let's start with a very distinct separation that we have to make. When I'm talking about people quitting, like Eggwick, Judgment, and others, a lot of them are content creators, but they also have the platform and the biggest voice. If a casual player quits Valorant, they're not gonna announce it. They're just gonna start playing other games, which makes sense. But let's start with the content creation space itself. It feels a little bit dry. It definitely feels a little bit boring. And no matter who tells you what, the views are a lot smaller than they used to be. A lot of the most prevalent and newest creators with sustainable views are people in the information and pro scene. Think about Teats, think about Woohoosian, and it makes a lot of sense because a lot of the casual players have now become competitive players, especially with stuff like the latest VCT and latest pro play, and Riot pouring a bunch of resources into that said competitive space will shift the player base as well, which will shift the content, and the views go towards that direction. But again, content is different than the player base. Content is different than the daily players Valorant has. These are completely two different segments, and it's time to relate to other games because now Valorant is 3 years old. We can finally start comparing it properly to some neighboring games. League of Legends, which is another Riot game that is very specific on esports and competitive play, or something like CSGO, another TAC shooter that of course resembles Valorant greatly, or I guess Valorant resembles it greatly for obvious reasons. What about those spaces? Well, the League of Legends space and the CSGO space are both pretty dry as well. Actually, search CSGO yourself in an incognito tab as a completely new user. Funny enough, the videos that I get on YouTube are weapon case openings or gambling, but other than that, it's very similar to Valorant. A lot of pro play highlights, a lot of montages or other moment style videos, and once in a while a meme video that goes viral. League of Legends is even worse because it's pretty much 100% the same. It's moments or clips or highlights of pro play or some sort of guide or information or just your usual ranked and that you all watch playing your favorite champion on whatever role. And the big thing about these two comparisons is CSGO has surfing and customs and specific servers and a lot of things going on, yet the content does not reflect it. And that gets to my next point. I was a big advocate and still am for Valorant to add more casual tools, utilities, and things to do for the casual player, but it doesn't exactly mean it would fix content. Just because a game adds it doesn't mean there's truly an audience for it. For example, Valorant gives me map competitor, and then Valorant gives me a ton of tools to make a crazy custom game, let's say like some crazy parkour tournament, it doesn't actually mean that there's an audience for it. Sure, some of you had your ears perk up and said, yo, I would watch that. Truth is, we don't know the market until we test it. It doesn't mean that these things would fix content as a lot of creators believe they would. It could, but it doesn't mean it would. The reason I am a big advocate for it isn't as a content creator, but as someone who loves Valorant. Believe it or not, I even like the community to some extent, as there are some great moments within it. And I think for that reason, for the community, for the player base, we do need more casual oriented stuff, and Riot needs to try a little bit harder. This brings us on to the next point. For example, did you know last winter during the holiday season, they didn't even bring back Snowball Fight, a game mode that already exists within the game, wasn't even put into rotation during the correct season. Did you know during Halloween or October or the spooky season, they didn't even bother with real genuine skins for Halloween? Instead, the skins came after Halloween was over, and they were a very bottom tier skin line. This is not even to do with a game mode or a sunk cost to the player base to increase your community. No. We're talking about skins for the monetization of the game. Riot simply isn't trying. There's no way to go around it. It's not me being stubborn or spoiled. They're just not trying because they don't care. They have one focus and one focus only: to make Valorant the best competitive game it can be. And to that, is it a problem? Well, unfortunately, not really. We don't really have a say. Even if I like the casual game modes, even if I want more casual game communities, even if I want custom games, even if I want them to blow my holiday out of the water by making a new iteration of Snowball Fight every year, it really doesn't mean they have to. In the end, they want people to use Valorant almost like a tool. You open it up and you have one objective: click heads, get better, strategize, and play this game of chess. And that's the way I'm looking at it now. Valorant is just like a game of chess. They just want to make it as complex, intricate, and detailed as possible, and they want to push that ceiling as high as it can go. They want the crowd, the community, the players, the pros, the competitive nature of the game to carry its way forward. And I think that's exactly what they're going to continue to focus on. I wouldn't expect anything else from Valorant, and maybe that's okay. As a content creator, this is my second Valorant channel, and even I know I want to try some variety on it. There's only so much you can do. I'm someone who's run and owned other channels to do with Minecraft and Roblox and a ton of other things, and every single game is going to have its limits. Valorant simply hits it early for the casual scene. I understand the need for creators to move forward. It is so easy to burn out in a game like Valorant. And as we re-enter the competitive topic, I must note that a big weakness that I will spend a small amount of time on is rewards. Right now, you only get a ranked buddy with a new number, and it is true. If you're kind of stuck in Immortal or Diamond or Plat, and you keep getting that same Plat buddy over and over, it could be hard to incentivize yourself to keep grinding. However, Valorant is built on that chess system, like I said previously. The reward is supposed to come from you improving. That doesn't mean Riot shouldn't take a step forward. Stuff like gold guns from Overwatch are a good example, and having their own little thing like maybe special glove skins for certain ranks on some seasons, and then the next season they give you a unique knife if you get a certain rank that changes color based off of that rank. That's what we call rewards. That makes the entire season grindable because you want that immortal glove. I don't want my plat glove, for example, and then just make each reward somewhat unique, and there you go. You've now fixed the issue. However, now we move on to the more serious issues when it comes to competitive. For a game that values the competitive nature so hard, Smurfs are an issue. The quality of ranked throughout the ladder is an issue. This is Valorant's truest weakness, that its best moments, its most fun, and the best the game has to offer is locked away at the higher elos with duos or trios. That's where the game shines the most. And this is the final topic of the video: smurfing and the quality of ranked. Now, when it comes to smurfing itself, I understand that it is a complex topic, but also isn't deep at the same time, and let me explain. If a content creator wants to defend themselves for smurfing, so be it. in the end. They made content, people liked it, people watched, and if it's working, it's working. Because if the viewers really hated it, they would dislike, they would click off early, it would tank the views of the video, it would no longer become a successful business model, and people would back the fuck off. It's that simple. I hold the honest view that the problem lies within the company and not the player. The way I see it is, let's say you're playing even a ranked game. If an enemy abuses a bug that's within the game, it is extremely frustrating. It is. And yeah, morally, the player should probably not do it, especially in ranked. But truth is, you just get, like, Riot slipped it in there. Like, it still filtered through from Riot's end. They will patch the game and they will fix it. Smurfing is just like a bug. It needs to be squashed and it needs to be dealt with from Riot themselves. That's just the only opinion, in my opinion, to have. Like, you can't just you can't hate your way to deleting Smurfs. It won't do anything. Instead, Riot needs to simply add a better system, keep improving on moving Smurfs from the bottom elo to the top elo quicker, and then limit test them up there. Better yet, just add phone number verification like Overwatch 2 did. I'm saying there's systems, right? CSGO has a verification system, and Valorant Premier has a verification system. It's already within the fucking game. It's simply not that hard. Do that and you cut Smurfs substantially. The truth is, I know there's VoIP and buying numbers online, but there are things that the company can do to verify phone numbers properly. There are a lot of systems like food companies and like Uber and blah 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 blah. If you try to use a VoIP to make a new account, it won't let you because tech companies can implement things around it. They can tighten this screw really hard to a point where you need an actual number in order to play ranked. Now, I know some people will have trouble getting on a number or getting a number. If you're too young to have one, you probably shouldn't be playing ranked in general. It's not even, I mean, voice comms, I think most people agree it's just probably better not to do that. Like, you probably shouldn't be in that environment at such a young age, in my opinion. And furthermore, if you can't, while unfortunate, unrated and other queues would exist because the betterment of the player base, the betterment of the overall queue will be substantial. And in the end, what's Riot's initial goal? To make competitive as good as possible, to make it like a chess match. And if they want to do that, then they have to double down, and at least double down in the right areas. Help the lower elos out. Help them by making sure there are way less Smurfs by implementing more and more systems. Tighten that screw so that it feels that if I'm playing in silver and I'm still a silver player and I have that skill level, every improvement I make is impactful, and that impact brings that competitive nature out. And hopefully one day I'll be diamond, and maybe one day I'll be immortal, and that dream or that route is exactly like why people play sports. The reason we go out to play soccer or do basketball practice, because we want to get better. And scratch that itch, things need to be fair. The more they make things fair, the better the game will be. That's my final take on things. Let me know what you think down below.